Hey everybody, Joe and Ashley Kovacs here. We're here for podcast number 4. We're excited for you guys to join the THROvacs Podcast. We're our Kovacs family and our passion for throwing collide. All right, podcast number 4, Ash. I know you got some topics. Some people have messaged in. They want to hear
Yeah.
some new things from us. We got some exciting things going with the family, so I'll let you start us because you're more organized with
Yeah.
keeping us on
So,
schedule.
I think that to start, just kind of recapping like the last week or two has been eventful. So last week we had a big week. You had our Chinese athletes for their meet in New York.
Yep.
I had an event here in Dublin. And then the next day we had the Arnold, which was obviously that was pretty fun. Awesome. One of our most looked forward to events, probably.
It is my favorite event of the year.
Yeah.
And I for so many reasons.
Right.
But obviously the dinner, which we might talk about. But
Right.
that thing for me is it's such a special moment when you're in a room with so many like-minded individuals from across the gamut of the,
Yes.
Bro calls it the iron game, but
Right.
our sport, everything has to do with strength. And it's just so crazy how, you might look at a CrossFitter, strongman, me, a shoplifter, but the people in the room, they may not look the same, but the mindset and the training and the passion behind it, it's so cool to share stories
Yeah.
in that room.
I feel like the other thing with that too is like when we are with people that are, like you said, like-minded, but from different walks of the strength game, it's almost like we leave with like some inspiration, like forward thinking about like what we're doing, what we need to do. Like it's almost like the people in the room are kind of like bouncing ideas off each other, saying how they do things. And it always seems like we leave with like a little bit of a spark and excitement for like what we're doing or what's next or things we want to work on.
Yeah, I think, like you said, that spark, it's like you're in a room with, CrossFit champions and
Right.
strongman champions, and like they want a picture with you because you're the
Yeah.
Olympian.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, you're way cooler than me. Like,
No, it's,
we're like,
I mean,
you're in the Game of Thrones. You know what I
yeah.
mean? With Thor being one of them. It's just like,
Well, it's
it's
everybody.
cool.
It's like the mutual respect thing, I think
Yeah.
is really awesome. And just like seeing the way that other people handle their business and like drawing the similarities between that, I think has been
Mhm.
just very cool for me over the years. You've been with Rogue for kind of a while now. And I think that like some of the people that have been with Rogue have been with Rogue as long, if not longer than you. So it's just very fun to talk to people like that. So, that was something that we had a really great time doing. So that was Saturday and Sunday of last week, and then our Chinese athletes that had been here for 3 months ended up leaving on Friday. So that was, that was like a milestone, another training in the books for them. This is the 3rd or 4th time they've been here with
I
us.
think it's the third
Yeah.
long trip, 4,
Yeah.
including a short trip, like a meet and greet for a couple weeks. But yeah, this is the 4th, or the 4th total trip, which is kind of crazy. I've known these guys for so long, and it's something fun for me because it gives me, you know, I think with the language barrier thing, it's like also made me dumb down some things that we can get too wordy for.
Yeah, and I
it's
don't
a
even know if the word is, like, dumbed down as much as, like, just simplify,
yeah,
right?
that
Like
Ashley's better with the words than me. Dumb down sounds bad, but like maybe be more
no, and I
efficient and more
agree with you.
precise.
Like, I think that, like, even watching back some of the stuff we've put on THROvacs where we're talking very slowly or saying things very, like, almost like you'd say to, like, a young child
Yeah.
almost because the translation is a thing. So you have to be mindful of, like, the words you're saying and how they translate.
Yeah, I mean, this is a funny, like, maybe side note, but like some people get mad because Ashley's always saying the ball on your neck, the ball. They're like, it's a shot put. If you are coaching athletes from another country and you're using a translator, like the word shot does not translate that well. So like the ball is a little bit more friendly and a little
Right.
less
Right,
aggressive.
right.
So it's something that I think over time you and I have
Yeah,
started to say, but
exactly.
it's funny when somebody brings it up or is like mad about it. It's just like,
Right. Well, in the translator, I think just to mention this for people that might not have seen how we've done it, like it's literally a little machine that you push a blue button, you speak in English, it translates immediately,
yeah.
and then they speak, and then it translates back to us immediately. So
And
it's actually
immediately
really
is
good.
it, we should say quickly, but
Yeah,
immediately, I mean, every conversation takes 4 times as long as a normal conversation
sure.
because you talk, you
There's
wait,
like a
you
5-second lag, but it's
yeah.
obviously not as like fluid as what you and I are doing right now. But yeah, so I think that that has helped us simplify some of our concepts. Also, for me, working with the high school athletes, which really the youngest group I worked with regularly were the collegians, and like even working with a brand new freshman that was maybe underdeveloped in high school is a big step backwards in like terminology from even like a third year or fourth year or fifth year,
Mm,
let alone a professional. So I think that for me, having been doing that now for some time, like the last few months, I've started to like sharpen my skill set of simplifying big concepts, and so that's like what we've been doing. So you had been working with the Chinese athletes. I'd been with you for their training most of the time, um, full go throwing and lifting with them. I've been working with some high school athletes,
mhm.
some masters athletes, some professional athletes, um, through our THROvacs accounts. And yeah, we've just been kind of like full throttle with all that,
Yeah,
right?
you've been booked nonstop with these Zooms, so thank you
Yeah,
guys for booking us.
it's been crazy because I feel like it's like anything else. It's like, okay, like kind of like slow to start something, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, and then you kind of have to go back and like rethink, reevaluate how you're going to do the like reprocess the whole thing. But I've really been enjoying it. It's been really fun, but we are pretty much slammed as far as like obligations for the day, like legitimately starting. So like what was it, Friday or Saturday? Friday drug testing came for you at 5
Yeah,
5 a.m.
and yes, I mean, I'm not
Blasted
calling her
you.
out, but they had a
You
hard time
you only
finding the
got
vein.
poked 4
Well, yeah,
times.
4 times to find the vein, and
I know you don't like getting poked like that. So, yeah, so that
well, it's
started.
just annoying. You have somebody like a good DCO, a good phlebotomist, and they get you, and they're just in and out. Like blood's easy, urine sometimes you gotta wait to pee a bit, but like it's like, dude, come
Yeah,
on.
I mean,
Sometimes I just want to be like I don't like
well,
needles,
it's like
but I'd
it's
rather do it
funny
myself
because,
than have you
like,
guess.
well, sometimes they come and they only do urine and it's like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when they come and they do blood and urine and then they can't find your vein or whatever, it's just like this
Well, and
whole long
normally they
process.
can. It's kind of weird that they. I don't know. I don't know. I want. She was nice. She was a very nice woman, but
Well, I mean,
it was.
sometimes you could be
She
more
wasn't.
vascular.
She wasn't USADA, so that's also a different thing. Sometimes they outsource and have a different company come in. So
Well, there are I mean, like, you legitimately could be more vascular sometimes than others, like, sometimes your veins are visibly easier to see than other times just depending on, like, blood flow and, like, workout, literally. So, I mean, you can't whatever, side tangent on that for sure, but, um, yeah, so started the day, like, 5 AM, then I had a Zoom at 7, and then our twins get up by 8, 8:30, do breakfast, have another Zoom call, nap time is training time for you,
yeah.
right? So, had a big lift down here.
Yep.
Been working on that. Like, yesterday, I'm like, "What did we do yesterday?" And then it just all seems like it just kinda runs together, but today I was like, "What did we do today?" And it's like, "Oh, we had, like, 3 different Zoom calls. I think we bought another house." Like,
We did buy another house. Yeah.
legitimately, like, I feel like that's, like, becoming so
Well, we're in
yeah.
contract too. We celebrate. You celebrate the contract. We celebrate more when we sign on the dotted line. But
Yeah.
it's a fun.
Sold a house,
Yeah.
selling something, like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so that's something else we do on the I guess on the side, like, Kovacs Capital is a real estate portfolio that you're managing. So, I mean, I guess, like, the theme of this podcast to me is balance,
Mhm.
right? And I think a lot of people have been interested in how we, quote, unquote, "balanced" everything, and there's a lot, I think, like, some people might see from our Instagram, like, we don't put everything that we're doing on there. I think we've been starting to put a little bit more, but it's just, like, so many different avenues, right? So it's like the real estate portfolio, which is Kovacs Capital, like, that could literally be a full-time job,
Yeah,
right?
for
I
sure.
mean, especially at the point that it's gotten to now where there's multiple properties and, like, property managers, and I don't know how many tenants we have, but
A lot.
quite a few at this point.
We've got a lot of doors, and we got a lot of two states, and
Yeah.
it's yeah. I mean, if you, it's one of those things. Like if you want to spend more time there, there's
Right.
always more to
Right,
do.
right,
So,
right.
but I mean, it's
Yeah,
obviously
so that's something like, kind of like diversifying what we do beyond the athletics,
yeah,
right? And then training other people. I think that's been something that we've focused on a little bit more obviously in the last year. Like, it was crazy in 24 because we were like kind of like full throttle just trying to like get established, had just moved back to Columbus, getting established, moving back into moving back in, coming into this house, getting everything established. We spent some time, away on a training trip, came back, and we're kind of like fully locked in for the year, for the season. The Olympics, obviously, like me being a team coach and being out there with you for the Olympics for 3 weeks, like there was a lot of planning and stuff involved in that, and adjustment period of just like being out of the college system. So it's kind of been a whirlwind, like, forever, but, now I think kinda settling into, like, some different stuff, the THROvacs stuff that we're doing now, like, softly, we've been doing a lot of it since basically, we've had that site since 2019, but really just didn't do much with it. I mean, obviously, we couldn't do a whole lot with it while I was with the collegians.
Sure. Yep.
You have restrictions with the NCAA, so you can't really coach other people
Sure.
that much,
Sure.
okay? Especially preps, especially, like, high school athletes. So, now that we've started to dabble into that, like, we stay consistent with the Chinese athletes. I've picked up some athletes. We're trying to put more content out on THROvacs and YouTube and obviously doing this podcast, and I think the reason for that is, like, we're at a point now where we're excited to kinda, like, give back and, like, share the information that we've gathered and the experiences we've had along the way.
Yeah, I think that's what like, this stage of my career that I'm in, I guess I've been called the old guy for a long time in the sport, but I kind of feel like it's finally time
Yeah.
to start kind of saying something because my mindset all the way through and my mentors before was always just kind of like put your head down and keep on going, kind of like it's a bad meet to get in the back of the bus, head down, no music, like
Yeah.
I'm kind of old school like that. And
Yeah.
we've never tried to overdo things because I mean they obviously are a distraction,
Well, I think
and
that,
they
like, we've said this plenty of times, like, I've always felt like even when I was a young athlete, I always felt like the second you start talking, you're, like, opening the door to get passed up. So it's
yeah.
like the second you celebrate, I mean, this is not probably the best way to look at it, but I think it's been part of the equation for success over the years of just, like, never it's business as usual, like, never get too high on the highs,
Mhm.
never get too low on the lows. It's easier said than done for 100%, but I don't think this is just a sports thing. I think this is a really strong lesson for life, like, you have to just keep moving, right? And I think that for such a long time, we've been so singularly focused on just keep it moving, keep it going, like, don't let the bottom fall out, that we haven't had time to come up for air, let alone, like, share at all. And I think that, like, that's something that we're finally to the point now where that's shifting a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's like something very unique to our event, let alone our sport. Right? Obviously, we're an individual sport, but I mean, obviously, my paycheck compared to the Noah Lyles paycheck is much different, right?
No.
But like, and even that's the extreme of it. But like, the number 100 meter runner is still guaranteed. I mean, a lot more than a thrower ever would be. And I think what's one of the things that's like why I mean, me personally, I've been so focused and bunkered down and like never truly took the eye off the ball this entire time is because like our sport goes from like you could have a decent house and living and may have some investments here and there to like you probably couldn't even file this on your tax returns because it's a hobby now. Literally within like four throws.
Yeah.
Like and honestly, it's like it's that extreme.
It really is that
If you're
extreme.
not number one or two or three, we used to say one, two, three, but honestly, it's harder to be three now than
Yeah.
it was when I started my sport. So like, if you're
Well, it's harder to be 2 and it's harder to be 1. I mean,
well,
is there not less.
well, especially if you're in the United States,
Right.
obviously if you're another country and you have some, government, federal backing and your national governing body, there's some kind of system there, whether it's through the military or police. That's a different story. But here in the United States, I mean, it's pretty brutal, and like I've respected that my entire career. I still do respect it, but I think that's why I've been
Well,
so
like, in
extreme
the
to
sense of, like, saying it's brutal, I think that the thing that's important to drive home with it is there's just no security blanket at all.
yeah.
Meaning, like, the difference between what you do and what a team sport athlete does, a football player, a basketball player, it's like you have a bad game, you have a bad game. You have a bad string of games, you're in a batting slump, like, okay, if you hit a home run and then you hit a couple more, they might forget about that and nothing's gonna change for your contract.
Mhm.
Like, that is not even close to how it goes. Like, you could again, like we've said this a million times, world champion one year, making $0 the next year legitimately, like, it is truly, "What have you done lately?" Like, the quote that you say all the time, "You're only as good as your last meet," and that is
Sure.
that's the brutal part in my opinion, like, when nothing matters except for the thing you do next.
Right.
And I think that that is something that really takes a psychological toll on people. I think that's something that you have to learn how to handle, and some people never learn how to handle that. And I think it's hard for it's hard for you, obviously, as the athlete. It's hard for me as a coach, but also as your wife, because I know the stark reality of the situation too. Like, I don't want to obviously be dwelling on that, but at the end of the day, like, I know very well, very clearly what's going to happen if you get fourth at the Olympics versus second. Like, we all know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
And I think we're to a place right now, like, again, we are definitely towards like the latter part, obviously, of this for you. You've been doing it now for going into 13 years. Like, and it's just one of those things where we're to the point now where if it did all go away, we would still live to see another day. Like,
sure.
we have enough going. We've made good decisions with what we've done that this is not gonna send us into poverty. And there was a point where maybe it could have, right? At some point. I mean, obviously, like, I'd been working and we've always been as intelligent as we can with like how we're gonna do financial planning, whatever, whatever. But like, there's a point where you have to feel like, if I don't do this, we have a problem. And I
Yeah,
think that's a good thing. And I also think it's a scary thing, but like, it's definitely been a source of fuel
sure.
for you, right?
No, for sure. I mean, and that's honestly almost everybody who's known me my career. Every year, I always have this contemplation of continuing, especially beginning my career, and it really wasn't because of lack of love of the sport. It's just like the opportunity cost of staying in such a risky
Right.
sport that's so volatile that where, not, when I started first professional season in 2012, there were so many more meets and opportunities, right? And like we could talk about what the Diamond League prize money was back then and this, and I think everything was probably more, but there was just more
Hmm.
opportunities. Now, every time we go to a meet, not only are there less opportunities, but it's the Olympic final everywhere we go.
Sure.
That's not how,
Everybody's there.
that's
Like,
not how it used
yeah,
to
it's
be.
never like legitimately anywhere you go in Europe, there are 100%. There are going to be at least 5 or 6 of the top 10 guys in the world.
Yeah.
Literally, like everywhere,
Mhm.
because that's just how it goes. So
Sure.
it's like every single place, like, there's no easy meet. There's no easy money meet at all,
Yeah.
ever.
I never think, I think when I started 2012, I was fortunate to like, room with my heroes like a Christian Cantwell, Reese Hoffa, and like learn from them or at least like overlap with them. And that's what I'm
Right.
really fortunate of. But like, I just remember like we wouldn't see Reese for
Right.
2 weeks because I'd be with Christian,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
went to these meets, and then we came back to the Diamond League and saw each
Right.
other. But like, there was a way that you could scrap, I don't want to say like glorified practices, but
Sure.
like you could go to a small meet in Italy or the Czech Republic, win the meet, have a good training trip,
Right.
and then get ready for the next
Yeah.
Diamond League.
Yeah.
Now those meets are gone, so it's like every opportunity is so much more like,
Make or break.
yeah, and
And it's also just like you've said this before too. Everything now seems like such a big deal. It's also
mm,
public, right? Like, every single thing you do, every single where you go is like all over the internet.
yeah,
So it's like, I feel like you used to be able to go to a meet and it's like you throw 20 meters and it's like, up, had a rough one, shake it off, keep it moving. Now it's like, Joe's done forever. He threw 20 meters,
yeah.
like, and it's just like one of
I
those
I
things,
threw
like,
I threw under 20 meters the meet before, either right at 20 or whatever. It was bad. Like 3 days before I threw 22:52 or 56, whatever I threw in Monaco in 2015, which is just like,
Joe, you do that, like, you threw 20 meters before you
well,
threw
I'm just, but
2290
I'm just saying,
something to win the
I'm just
Diamond League
saying,
final like
but
yesterday. So,
I'm saying that now because nobody knew that. Nobody knew that I just said that, right? But like nowadays, if I did that, every person would have seen that result,
well,
right? It's
at least now you've thrown 20 and then thrown almost 23 so many times that, like, everyone's like, "This is the sign.
yeah, yeah, sure.
23 is coming." Like,
Unfortunately, that's a recipe sometimes. But I
I
mean,
mean, who cares? And that's the thing, like, it's not really who cares, because when that happens, like, I definitely care, but at the end of the day, like, what are you gonna do? Like, it's just part of it,
sure. I
kind
mean, that's
of.
part of the sport. That's part of the travel, and especially that at that point in my career, I was still young and learning how that all that worked. But like, my point is, like, there was less, there's less opportunities now. So the whole
Yeah,
like, hey, that was a rough meet. I remember Christian Cantwell being like, "Why do you care, dude? We have a meet in 2 days," and I was like, "Yeah, you're right."
yeah.
But like, I couldn't say that now to a young athlete.
Well, and I
Why do
think
you care? Because like, I know why you care. Because now that you don't have an opportunity, you won't get in the
you
rest of
won't
the
get
time
into
league.
meet.
Like, you won't. You're done.
Well,
You
and I
missed
think
it.
that that's, like, a pretty good, like, pivot into the whole balance thing. Like, I feel like it's, we talk all the time about how, like, there's so many buzzword things and it's like all this, like, okay, balance. And I think of people that have done anything significant. So like think about like Jeff Bezos,
Yeah.
like anybody, any like person that's a billionaire, any person that's in politics, any person that's kind of climbed the ladder of anything they've done, I guarantee you that they would not say that they did that in a like super healthy work-life balance type of way, right?
Right. Sure.
And I think that you have to kind of earn the right to have balance.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the right to have balance, but like if you want to be the best at something or you want to make it in something that's so competitive, like what you're doing, what are you gonna do? Be like, okay, I'm gonna only train for 90 minutes today, and then I have to go like do some other things. It's like you don't get that luxury at first, right? Like the Nick Saban quote that I think is the best, it takes what it takes.
Mm.
So if you want to be the best, it's not gonna be balanced at first. Like it's just not, and it's the same thing like you're saying, like, okay, those meets for somebody that isn't you can't do that, right? Because you could throw 20 meters and still get into a meet because you have 8 medals.
Right.
Somebody that's just coming up goes to a meet and throws terrible and you were lucky to get in the first place. Well, now you're probably not going to get into any more meets the rest of the year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's a time in my career, even as a multiple-time world champion, I wasn't let into a meet
Yeah.
because I had an injury, or not really an injury. I was kind of we were getting married. I cared more about that, but
Hey,
that's probably the
don't
truth.
blame it on me.
That's the truth of it. I think it's a great time, but like I mean, I was in shape to throw, probably maybe not 23, but definitely 22. But they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm not sure if you're coming." I was like, "All right, screw it, we're gonna go have a good time," and we did. But you know, we are in this. I mean, obviously, all the throwers are listening to this. It is still a pseudo amateur sport,
Right.
and like as much as professional, I hear people call themselves professionals all the time. It like makes me giggle in my mind, especially if you're post collegiate. Like to me, it's like this sport. You have to get to a really, really good place, especially in our event, to call yourself a
So
professional.
you're actually a professional if you earn money doing it at all.
Right.
So you can call yourself a professional if you've made a dollar doing like that's the definition of professional actually.
I disagree with that definition. I
Well,
know
that is the
you might take part
definition.
this out of this
Well,
part, like,
amateur means that you're not paid.
well, that's why I said pseudo amateur, right?
Okay.
I mean, because there's a lot of the old amateurism in our sport.
Because
Like,
it was an amateur sport. I think that's something that people like legitimately I did not know this. So here's how I know that it used to be an amateur sport. How I learned that this was an amateur sport back in the day. Judd Logan was going to try out for the Seahawks. He might have played football for like a year or two at Kent State, and that he did play football at Kent State. And then he started like he wanted to do track full time when he started picking up the hammer, like learned the hammer and became better at it. And the Seahawks wanted him to try out, but he couldn't
yeah,
try out and still do the Olympics because it was an amateur sport.
sure. Yeah.
Like who knew? Who knew that? I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and those are definitely weird, different times. It's certainly not like that now, but like there is a
Well, it comes like the sport has amateur roots.
sure.
So that's where like when you say that, like I agree with you, but it came from an amateur place,
Yeah,
right?
and there is a lot of that residual part of that still
Sure.
sticking to it from how our meets are run in the
Well,
system.
think about it like this. Almost every other professional sport has like a minor league, like a D league.
Yeah.
We everybody's that like D league, all of it is one with track and field. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like think about I mean, except for the NFL, which there are some random leagues now for football, but like think about professional baseball.
Yeah.
Think about
Well,
basketball.
and we really use the collegiate system in the United
Exactly.
States as that. I mean, really,
100%.
USATF and almost all the U.S. Olympic Committee really benefits off the shoulders of the NCAA system for
100%.
training, whatever percent. I know it's super high. They always say what it is. It's like 94% or whatever. Either went through the NCAA or athletes who
Exactly.
still train at the institution. So,
Exactly.
I mean, that's where the majority of everybody is training. But yeah, I definitely think that there's definitely parts of it that, as a shot putter, as a professional shot putter for 13 years, like, why was I never doing more? Is because, like, the second you take your eye off that, like, you didn't earn anything. And it just, I don't want to call it stressful because it should be stressful. It's sport, it's a high level, it's not stress, but it's an awareness of like reverence.
And the fragility of everything you have.
Yeah.
Meaning, like in 1 minute, it's like again, like you're only as good as your last meet. So it's like you've had all these consecutive medals. Like a break in the action is like the last thing that you want,
Yeah.
right? Like, because it's relevance.
Well, I definitely, I mean, I don't want to get a side tangent here, but there's definitely things in the sport like you hear like if you do this, X will happen. Like you might get a shoe sponsor, you might get this, you might get that. And through my career, now I've not only not seen that not held up or not stay the same, but I mean, like I think of examples of like a Day getting a bronze medal and not much really changed for the better for him after a medal. And if I would have told the 2012 me and that group I was with in 2012, they would have said I was crazy.
Yeah.
Like if you got a medal, you got taken care
Right,
of,
right,
and
right.
you didn't. Even somebody like, I mean, you have a bunch of athletes who became Olympians, and like you think like the day after throwing in the Olympics, you come home and life's going
Well,
to be
that's the
different, and
tough
then
part though, right?
everybody goes
Like,
back to their hourly job they're
I mean,
working.
but that's the tough part even for I think that's the one of the biggest misconceptions of what this sport is.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like people think, "Oh, you got a medal at the Olympics and you came home and like the red carpet was rolled out for you and everything you had was better than the year before." And it's like you're still holding your breath, in December trying to see if everything that you had last year is going to come back. And that is very strange for having a success,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I think that like for you, even like if you think about 2016, the first time you kind of realized that that's how it
Mhm.
is from like what you've said. Obviously, I wasn't there with you, but from what you've said, I think that that was like a very like impactful moment for you.
I think even my first world championship in 2015, even without being the Olympics, the big allure of it, but you're like sitting in the hotel lobby, just chilling afterward, just like
Yeah.
it was not to put it down, right? But I mean, like you have this, like I think everybody who gets to a point, you think like, oh, this is it, right?
Yeah.
And like it's funny, I'll tell you, I was on a USATF Foundation call, and they had all the athletes who are grantees, and there's obviously all of our sport. I remember like Gabby was on there, Gabby Thomas, talking about how she's doing Sports Illustrated and all these kind of crazy opportunities that came away from us. And they're like, and somebody asked her like, well, how about you guys? Have you had more opportunities? They're like, what have you been doing lately? And like, I didn't answer because I didn't want to, make a joke and the whole thing. But I was like, I've been able to do the lawn more. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been mowing the lawn and hanging out with my kids. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's been fun. That's been the rest of my summer post Olympics.
Right.
What have you been doing? Oh, I can finally do the lawn because I haven't been home and I've been hanging out with my kids at the playground.
Right.
Like, not much in our lives has really changed
I
other
mean,
than
here's the thing, like, the thing that you always say that I think is bad. I mean, this is, like, not feel does not feel nice in any capacity, but when you say it can only get worse,
sure.
that's so bad, right?
It's true
But
though.
at the end of the day, what I think people need to understand, if you are, like, literally the best in the world or top 3 in the world at what you do, incrementally getting, "Okay, I was 2, now I'm 1," or "I was 3, now I'm 2," the percentage of change to get from 3 to 1 and the percentage of change from, like, 3 to, like, 10, it's a l the drop down is like a big stall, right?
Oh,
Like,
sure.
that's way easier that could happen way easier than this,
Mhm.
and what you gain from going from 3 to 1 and what you lose from going from 2 to 10 is not this is like the difference of that is
Yeah,
astronomical.
and 2 to 10 is even extreme. I mean, 2 to if you go 2 to 6.
Yeah, exactly. So, but if you go to 2 to 6, it's like, okay, wow, I had this and now I have like 1/10 of it. If you go from 3 to 1, 20% more, maybe, right? Like,
Not even that. I mean, overall, no, definitely not.
but that's the thing.
I
Like,
mean, but
it's
there's definitely
insane.
there's definitely some perks to having a good season, and there's definitely some payoff of having a medal. I mean, that's your resume.
Sure.
That's where I'm fortunate at this stage of my career to be able to keep doing it because of the guarantees I have of appearance fees and stuff like that. Because of my resume of 8 medals is a big deal. So I know that I'm thankful because at this point, if I didn't have that, it would be a whole lot less appealing to still go to these meets for the prize money that
Well, if you
hasn't really
didn't have
changed.
that, the reality of it is you
I wouldn't be
probably
doing
wouldn't be
this.
doing it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
100%.
just
Because
the
it's not feasible to. I mean, it's just not, especially at this point as a father and the head of our family, like it's it's not enough. I don't know, that sound bad saying that, but it's just not enough to justify what it takes to do it.
right. Well, I mean, and I just think that the point of like the conversation around balance, I think that as you get farther along, your ability to add things in because you understand how it goes,
Mm,
right? And you know the game in terms of like, when you have to be ready, you know what you need to do to be ready.
Yeah.
You know at what point it has to be like this shift, and I think it's like the same as anything else, even like with training. We talk about this all the time. There's a point in the year where I would say this when we were with the collegiates. It's like in the fall, it's like 70% lifting, 30% throwing in terms of like focus,
Mhm.
right? In terms of maybe even time for a while. It's like heavy loaded for like getting the body ready,
Yeah.
right? And then you're doing the throwing is definitely there. You're working on really small, like minute technical things. You're trying to establish like some fundamentals of technique. And then it starts shifting a little more and more. And then it's 50-50. And then you're, 30% weight room, 60% throwing, 20% weight room, 80% throwing, right? And I think the farther you get along, the easier it is for you to toggle the controls and know, okay, now I got to do this, now I got to do that, now I got to do this, and kind of like fine tuning where it needs to be. And I think that for you at this point in your career, like you understand that part of it so well
Mm.
that you're able to balance other things in because you know exactly what you need to be doing when you need to be doing it.
Yeah, I think I had the confidence of the blueprint of what's worked before, even if it's not been perfect. You obviously want to do. I mean, there's definitely things I do that we don't love, right? But they work for us, right? So it's like you have some confidence of this is what I know. Once I get to do X, do Y, do Z, I have I'm in the game. I'm playing the
Right.
game then, and yeah, I mean, we're definitely juggling a lot. I mean, from the real estate stuff from to the coaching and adding more on. And of course, our twins. I mean, anybody who's a parent out there knows, as parent of multiples, you definitely know, like your life is never the same, but it's always better for it.
Right.
Like I'm very fortunate. Like, why am I still throwing at this career? One of the main reasons is just the life that we have as a family. We're able to spend so much time together. I'm able to see our kids every single day. They're not going to daycare. They eventually will go to like a school next year, but like I get to spend time with them and see those moments that like they're precious to me.
Right.
It means something enough to me that like I don't want to miss out on that. And if it's like, the urge of like, well, I'd rather, be focused and ready for my throwing session, like I'm okay giving that up because I know I just have to flip the switch harder when I need
Right.
to. And certainly like if you told the me out of college and Olympic Training Center, like I was thinking about what I was gonna do throwing for a Monday
Well, you
practice the
couldn't
whole
have
weekend.
handled that then,
No,
right? Like you
100%.
like if we would have gotten married when you in 2016 and had a baby in 27, like you wouldn't have been ready. You wouldn't have been able to do that this way. You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm saying
Well,
like
and
the balance had to be shifted more towards
yeah,
the throwing side.
yeah,
And then even when we had the twins in 22, there was a definitely like I mean, that was insane, right?
yeah,
Like absolutely insane.
mhm,
And it wasn't pretty for a little while. Like, obviously, like you made the team in Budapest, obviously, like came away with a medal. I think that might have been the craziest one, actually. Like, people don't realize being able to get third in Budapest after
yeah,
how limited how just like
yeah. Going through the
completely,
motions up
well,
until we went
like,
to
how can you
Hungary
do
a couple
anything?
weeks
Right.
beforehand and like really felt sounded bad, but I didn't finally get to
Well,
start
they were with
training.
us.
Yeah, they were with us, but like
And we weren't, you were not sleeping. Like, and that for you,
yeah,
especially at your size, and I don't mean that negatively, but, like, you have to sleep, right? Like nice. Yeah, there you go. Good. Nice
okay.
chest joke. Very good. But you have to sleep and you weren't sleeping. Like, that was like, no one will ever understand how okay, so it's like, you weren't sleeping, you went to every single track meet with me
Yeah,
when I was at
when she was
Vanderbilt.
coaching me, and we drove to everyone because we couldn't bring the babies on the plane. We flew one time to you had to meet in the Bahamas with
Yes.
the twins, and they were obviously like this small. You could like hold them the palm of my hand at that like they were,
Well, I mean, that's the thing, like,
and then
they were premature,
we drove
so
the
we
game.
had to stay up we had to wake them up every 45 minutes when they were like, people will never
But we drove
understand.
Nashville to Gainesville to and from Nashville to Ole Miss,
Right,
Nashville to Baton Rouge. It was every single weekend. Not only was I, normally like the way it used to work is I would do all my lifting when you would go to a track meet.
right,
And I loved that because I was able to go crazy in the weight room and then just be a bear the whole weekend. Like I would
right,
just Netflix and sleep and kind of like selfishly, there was nothing
right,
else to do except to recover.
right.
So it was cool because then by the time you came back for a trip, I was actually functional.
And just, like, the level of, like, chores and obligation I mean, nothing is even
Well, I think
close
too.
to
I
the
mean,
same.
people out there who are parents will understand. It's like there is a point where you're just like you. I've been tired in my life many times. I've been jet lagged many times. I've traveled all over the world. I've never gone for like 7 months, 8 months, 9 months with like never having a day of like refreshed.
I
Yeah,
feel better. Like
there was no regroup day.
that type of exhaustion is like literally cellular and in your bones.
Yeah,
Like I will never forget how just like what a shell of a human you feel like when they're that. I mean, and I think it was even obviously it was more intense for having two, right? And then even more intense still because they were so
premature.
little.
We had to wake them up every 2 hours and feed them, and
It was
and then you
insane.
essentially wake them up for 2 hours and you teach them to not sleep every 2 hours
Right.
once they don't need to be fed anymore.
Right.
So I mean that whirlwind. And I remember training. I mean, she would sit in the coaching box at Vanderbilt and like be there with the twins, and we would talk on my Apple Watch, and we do like the walkie-talkie through
Through a
glass,
glass door.
and like honestly, there's like if we look back at the videos, like it doesn't look bad. I just remember there being like nothing. Like
Yeah.
you try to put something on, and sometimes you guys know you have that little bit of like, oh, this next throw, I'll like this is out. Like she's not expecting this, so I'm gonna tap that extra
It's
gear.
like you push the NOS button and like nothing
Nothing happens.
happens.
Yeah, and the opposite, like you press it,
And then
and
it
not
like
only did
it's
nothing
like that
happen,
spurt of like
but like the rest of the practice that you
yeah,
might have had energy for,
yeah,
you just
you
used it and nothing
completely
happened. Yeah,
just like yeah, that was really, really, really insane. And then did you win the Diamond League that year?
I don't know.
I think you did.
I might have. Yeah, yeah. Was it in Eugene?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it was in Eugene.
Somehow, it's probably because you got away from us for like 3 weeks.
You guys got COVID?
Yes, we
Yeah,
got
they
COVID.
got COVID, and I ran back over to Europe to have a couple more meets, and then we are gonna come home, and you were gonna come either it was
Yeah,
meet with me.
I was gonna come to pre with I think I was gonna come alone, I
Yeah,
think.
your dad was gonna watch us.
Yeah, I think like
But you
somebody was
guys got COVID, the babies got COVID, so then it was just like, well, not only is that a terrible thing, but like you can't come home and get COVID and go to pre. So then I had to stay. That's why I went with the Italian guys and hung out for a little bit, had some
yeah,
good
and then you
food.
ended up doing well that year. And it was also crazy because obviously the year that I was pregnant, so that was 22 in Eugene, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, 22 in Eugene,
You were the team coach too.
yeah, 28 weeks pregnant.
That
And
that USA jacket was fitting a little bit tighter than normal.
I
So
swear to you, like we left and we were out there for like 10 days. And I swear I gained more weight over those 10 days than I had in the 27 weeks prior to that. I like blew up. I was like, well, this is surely blowing my cover, right? But you threw really well there, right? You threw really well in Eugene for Worlds, narrowly got second, like back and forth, you and Ryan. Great competition as always. And then you won the Diamond League that year.
yeah, I think
That was
so.
at pre. You definitely won that year. And then I think you won again and you won again in 23. Yeah, so I think you got some sleep, things got a little better, but you threw 23 meters the first time while I was pregnant, and then you threw 22.92 or something like that.
No, I threw my PR. I threw in Zurich, the Diamond League. That's where I threw
Oh, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
year,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
the next year Prefontaine.
Okay, yeah.
See, that's when you have a long career when you mix up your Diamond League wins.
Well,
And
you have to won 3 times. So you won
I've won full 3 times.
so you won way a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then you won in Eugene,
I
and
won
then
the
you won in
old
Zurich.
Yeah, it's cool to me that I won the old system. I feel like there's not too many of us left who actually like won with the old total points ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I like that way better, but like I feel like it's just cool that I've gone through
Yeah. Definitely gone
both
through the gamut.
systems, all the changes.
Yeah, so I mean that was a whole event, and like I think just that like becoming a parent, I mean, no one will understand it until the second they become a parent and then they'll understand it.
Yeah.
Just how much different every single thing is about your entire life, and it will never be the same ever again. And like something I've said to my friends, and like I think I've even said to you, I feel like as a woman, you are like alt control delete off the face of the planet for like 2 years. Like the year that you are pregnant and then the first year of the baby's life, like when I say that, like you are like obsolete in terms of like your singular focus is like keeping the baby safe, healthy, and growing inside your body, and then safe, healthy, and growing outside your body.
Yep.
And like, I swear, like we joke about this all the time. I don't even remember like that 2 years. It almost feels like the entire time I was pregnant, kind of a blur.
Well,
The first like six,
the listeners probably agree right now because we just messed up which year I threw in Zurich and Eugene because
I mean, I just wasn't,
it was
I
just a
was
whirlwind.
not,
Yep.
honestly, like, no offense, not thinking about you that much in terms of your throwing. I was
And
really
I'm proud that
focused on,
I'm happy that you weren't. I mean, that's
yeah, I mean, not
priorities
in
went to
a
where it
bad
needed to be.
way, not in a negative way, but like, I mean, obviously having being pregnant with 2 babies at the same time was nerve-wracking, right? Like, that is not something that you are ever prepared for. I mean, I think generally, like, the first pregnancy, probably for anybody, even with a singleton, is like, there is a sense of, like, you're excited, you're so excited, but also it's nerve-wracking, and you just wanna make sure that everything's good, right? And
Yes,
so,
it's constantly scary and nerve-wracking.
yeah, and so then it's like all
Every
those emotions,
Yeah,
right?
every
For
time you go in there and, like, of course, like, they tell you everything you don't really wanna go to bed thinking about, and so you're thinking about all these vanishing twin syndrome and all
yeah,
these
oh my
things, like,
gosh,
all these are crazy things you're just like, "I wish I didn't know,"
yeah,
But,
and
like
then it's like the more you know, like, it's almost like, people would say, like, "Do not Google anything about
Mm,
anything," but you can't, like, that's just, like, so far from my personality of, like,
no, yeah.
I wanna know what's going on.
Even I mean, I don't know if you would get it, but even delivery-wise, like, we had so many scenarios of what could happen
Right.
that, like, when actually everything went as it should,
Well, I mean,
it was kinda like
that's
we
my,
almost weren't prepared
well, that
for it to
because we're
not be
our
an
part
issue.
of our whole thing is, like, being prepared for lack of a better way to say it, worst case
Oh,
scenario.
100%.
And I don't think that's great, like, in terms of, like, mental health wise, you don't like, that's not a state you wanna live in, but it is probably something that has helped us more times than not thinking about potential pitfalls. So, like, when you're dealing with something like this, right, and there's 2, and we're thinking about, like, well, what could happen? And it's like, "Okay, well, you're gonna deliver in the operating room." And it's like, "Well, why am I delivering in the operating room? Why can't I have a doula?" And then they tell you why, and then you're like, "Meh, maybe I wish I didn't know that," right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but, I mean, it's just one of those things where that all this is relevant to the conversation because it's, again, balance. How do you balance all the emotions of, like, my wife's pregnant with twins, we're still doing all this college stuff, I still need to make sure I get a medal or we're gonna have no money for the following year, like, this is all stuff that is, like, important to balance
Mm.
to be able to perform. And I think sometimes, like, the reality of everything else that's going on around you can stifle your ability to get the job done or the task at hand complete. And so being able to manage all that, in my opinion, for you has been one of the most impressive things about, and like, I think that even like, like even talking to some of the sprinters at the Olympics that knew that you had the streak for the 8 medals and whatever, like the sprinters, people that aren't in our event area are just like, dude, that's amazing because they realize how hard it is to keep it going for that long and that many different, like, we've been like 7 different people. I feel like we've lived like 19 lives
Sure.
in the last
Well,
8
and then
years.
one of the things I would say is you can never do it the same, and I think that mentality I had even before having kids, like, I think that is something that's very important to me, like, I never go into a season and think, like, it's just copy and paste from last season. You can never do it the same, like, the second you win a world championship and you get announced as a world championship as a
Right.
meet for the rest of your career, or
Right.
you're an Olympic medalist for the rest of your career, you hear that announcement, it's never the same because the expectations change. So one of
Exactly.
the things that, like, I've always made a big thing, I remember telling you about this, and I think that mentality has probably helped me with all the different things in our life from, obviously when you're pregnant, but like, even when they were born, like I know I've heard stories of like these guys who are like, I slept in another wing of the house to
Right.
sleep and like
Right.
I've never changed a diaper. And I'm like, literally, I mean, I I change a lot of diapers.
Yeah, you do change a lot of diapers
Like
and I
my
will,
I mean, you make all the food, you do everything hard, but my diaper count's probably pretty darn high because
yeah, your diaper count's high. Your
yeah,
diaper count's definitely high and you 100% were on the ground with me the entire time. Like,
yeah,
I will never be one of those, like, I think a lot of I think the women that say this, a lot of them are 100% spot on when they're like, I do everything. And I think that, like, we've talked about this too. I think the woman carries a completely different mental load
Mhm.
than the man. No offense to you. I think that that is chemical, right? Like, one thing that I've said,
Remember I told you this? I was just like, "You do everything, and I do everything you ask me to do."
but you
Like,
do but you do what
no,
I ask you to
but
do. I mean,
you're so much better. I mean, this is
well,
your
it's
personality other
just,
than mine, but like of planning and of
but I think
structure.
that's, I mean, every woman, all of my friends, I don't know any men that are like organizing the day for everyone, right? Like, and first of all, most of the men, all of them, I have no other friends that their husbands are home all day.
Yeah.
Also have no other friends where they work together. Like, every single job we have, we work together. Like, one of my friends was, I told you, was like, "Do you ever get sick of Joe? You guys are together all the time." And I was like, honestly, no, because I don't know any different. We've never not been from the very beginning.
Yeah.
We've never not been together all day. But I said to her, I'm like, okay, so we have a real estate business together, right? A real estate portfolio. We do that together. We parent together. We do the coach thing together, like coach athlete thing together. We have like people that we coach with. We have like literally like 4 or 5 different avenues
Mhm.
that we venture down, like, together. Every single thing we do is like a joint thing, right? Like, so, I mean, that's how we are, you know? And I think that I think one of the best compliments that we've ever gotten, do you know what I'm gonna say?
Maybe.
What?
Go ahead.
What do you think it is? When we were at the hospital, so, like, nobody knew who we were,
Mhm.
like, in terms of, like, that we were, like, you were an Olympic athlete or whatever, like, no one knew our dynamic, and we were like, I think maybe we were changing a diaper together, we were doing something together, and the nurse was like, "Wow, like, I've never seen teamwork like this before, like, you guys work really well together," or something like that, and I wanna be like, "Little do you know, that's kinda what we do for real." But I think that that has helped us so much, like, we understand each other, we know how we each of us operate individually, and, like, we just can go, you know? And I think that if we didn't have it like that, this whole thing would have been even harder than it was, but, like, we just we do everything together,
Yeah,
you
we have
know?
similar mindsets. Obviously, we come to things much differently, but we like, you know, sometimes I think we're allergic to relaxing because, like, even today, you just say that we we just bought another house, right? It's like we always are adding more to our plate, but it's also like this constant pursuit of progress
Right.
and better. And like, there's definitely times I wish it's like, after all these, training the Chinese athletes and everything we're doing, it's just like you wanna come up for air, but it's also like that maybe that thing has always been like that thing in our minds
I
is just
just
like you come up for air and then you let the air out.
but even, like, when we talk about it like this, and I talk about, like, your life growing up or
Mhm.
me growing up, and we say, like, "Oh, yeah, Joe had a little motorbike company at Penn State." And then my friends are like,
Nittany Boat Motorbikes LLC.
"Bro."
We put down little engines inside bicycles, right? Maybe you guys have seen those before. We pretty good business, started on Craigslist. We
Yeah,
incorporated, took it,
exactly.
sold it,
So you're out there, like, fixing up the little
89
motorbikes.
cc's.
Right, and I'm over at UK selling Air Force Ones that I've gotten from, a gentleman that I met in New York City, or, selling my basketball
Yeah,
tickets
you're
for.
flipping shoes.
Yeah, I
I
mean, it's a
I was
hustle.
scalping tickets at
Right,
Penn State football
exactly. I
games.
mean, like, that's just the
I was that
grind.
guy who was just like, you pulled one up, you
Exactly.
need a ticket, but I actually got a bunch.
Yeah, I don't need to be getting, like, my All-American honors taken away because I was, like, breaking NCAA rules back in college, but
Hey,
either way.
Reggie Bush got his Heisman,
Exactly.
so I mean,
I mean, it's
everything's allowed now.
I just think that's just that's who we are, like, at a cellular level. Like, I don't like I don't like when somebody says, like, "Oh, like, how do you relax?" Like, I've never been the type of person that's, like, laying on the couch in the afternoon. I don't, like, desire that. Like, does it sound nice to get a massage every once in a while? Absolutely. But, like, if you're like, "Okay, you have an afternoon, like, what do you wanna do?" It's like, "Nah, I'll go to yoga. Maybe I'll go get a cup of coffee. Maybe I'll, mess around in the garden or find something fun I wanna cook that I haven't tried to make before." Like, and people see that as work, some of that stuff,
Mhm.
but I like it, and I feel like with you, like, you like researching stuff, you like figuring things out. Like when you have spare time, it's not like you're like, I mean, you do like to sleep because you need to sleep.
Sure.
And I'm sure that sounds real nice.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the days I have to like after, I mean, we'll post it this week. I did a pretty good squat workout. Wasn't the
Right.
best, but pretty solid. And like, if I didn't take my Saturday yesterday and like lay down, we would pay for it
Sure.
to
It's
tomorrow.
part of
Like,
your job to rest,
yeah.
right?
Well,
Like,
and it's also weird too. Like those rest days don't actually feel like rest. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it's almost like they feel like work because you're like purposely not doing something and your mind wants to do stuff, you know? So it's like I have to force myself to kind of like go in the float tank, but really
sure.
it's not really the float tank, it's our bed or our couch and just kind of like decompress until the kids wake up from their nap. So I like napping when they nap if I can.
Yeah. I mean, you haven't done that in a really long time because we usually are training when they're napping,
Sure.
right? But
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that the whole notion of there's like a lot of push around like the mental health piece of all this, right? And I
Well, I
think that
think like, when you say mental health, I'm glad you said that because literally I was thinking the same thing. It's like I love when you say this term, mental fitness,
right.
because that to me is so much more powerful than this like everything has to feel good all the time. And I don't think that's true. Like the same way my body doesn't feel good the entire year because I'm in the grind of lifting but you reap the rewards when you plan it out to happen, right?
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, like mental health, like to me feels like a consequence of things that have happened. Mental fitness is like your ability to keep things moving when things are not going well.
Sure.
And that is something that needs to be trained,
Mhm.
right? And I've always said that. I 100 mental health is extremely important. But how do you become healthier mentally? You become more mentally fit in the sense that you understand what you need to not go south, right? To not get stuck in a rut, to not let things pull you down. And I think that that's something that is very important to like analyze. I think it's different for everybody. Like how I recharge, how I refresh, how you do is not the same as another person. Like that's something that's very individualized. But I think it's really important to like have enough personal wherewithal, emotional intelligence, right? Like self-awareness to understand what you need
Yeah.
and to understand that like this is greatness is not going to come without pressure. It's just not. And if it does, it's easy come, easy go. Like, I think that there are circumstances and situations where people can have these spectacular like showings and then it drops down. But to keep it coming, like you are gonna have to endure stress. Period.
Mhm.
Like it is not easy to be the best. It's just not.
Well, and back to our sport, when you said it's not easy to be the best, it's like I 100% agree with that. And like I have stress for July 5th right now,
Right.
right? I've had stress for July 5th since the ball landed in Paris and I was done with the championship year last year.
July 5th is Prefontaine.
Oh, sorry, August 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, are
August
you
3rd.
stressed that bad
No,
about pre?
August 3rd. Well, I should get my dates right, but August 3rd is when I
Yeah.
have my biggest stress
Right.
is August 3rd because it's in my mind is just like I can never take making that team lightly. There are people tell me all the time, like, "Oh, you and Ryan are number 1 and 2. It should be an easy day." It's just like, no,
Right.
it's not. It's actually the hardest day because, I have been 4th in 2012 Olympic trials, and I wasn't very
Well,
good at that time,
the good
but
news is if you get 4th on August 3rd, you're still gonna go, so.
as long as Ryan's top 1, 2, or 3, yeah.
No, Ryan's already got auto
Well,
bid.
I'm saying you get 4th, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
yeah, okay.
he will. Understood, but yeah,
I
that's
hear
the
what you're saying.
technicalities, but yeah, I mean, you had to finish top 3, and it helps when somebody has the automatic bid. It's always nicer when it's yourself, but, like, yeah, I mean, that day it's not a stressful day for me. My year is stressful to prepare for that day because that day's already gonna be stressful. So, like, I deal with the stress of that day every single moment, every day, because that's what I give reverence to. Because our
Sure,
sport, we really don't have I mean, the paydays in our sport, it's really only one of them that makes any difference, and
sure.
that's the major championship. And, like, but to get to that point, you have to get through that day. If I skipped that day in the major championship and just did the diamond leagues, like, it's not worth me doing this as a profession, right? So it's like, I have to give the biggest reverence and stress and balance and goal, mind setting, all those buzzwords you want to say to preparing for that day because we know what comes from it.
Well, like, here's another, like, harsh reality of the whole situation. It's not like if you're mentally, like, not in a good space,
Mhm.
like, your mental health is not well,
Yeah.
it's not like that changes anything about what happens on the day. Like, whether you're doing well mentally or not, you still have to perform. Like, it could be the worst you could be going through the worst thing in your entire life, and you still either make the team or you don't.
Well, yeah, you don't get it passed for your
Eh that's what I'm
circumstances, you
saying,
know,
and
like,
that's the
I didn't
thing.
get it passed because we had twins, somebody else get it passed because their family member's sick.
Exactly, and that's the hard that
yeah,
is the very, very crazy, scary, sad, unfortunate thing about a sport like this, but it's the reality. So, like, as a coach, I think it's really important to learn how to help strengthen athletes to be able to withstand these types of circumstances that they're going to inevitably encounter no matter what if they continue in the sport, right? Like, and I think that just I've always tried to be really cognizant of, like, when I had a champion,
mm,
preparing them on what that's like the next year.
yeah,
And I think that that's something that you learn as you go. I think, like, for myself as an example, and I think that this has resonated with some of the athletes I had, like, I was good in high school. Like, I was good the entire time, right? Like, I was a good freshman, I was a good sophomore, I was a good junior, and then I was pretty nationally good junior and senior year in multiple events. Like, and I knew what it was like to win a state championship and then to be expected to win it the next year, right? And I think that you learn how to carry that weight from carrying that weight.
mm.
And obviously you have been carrying that for a long time, but, like, it's not like you don't feel it. You know, you might get better at holding it, but it's not any lighter.
Yeah, and also nobody wants you to do well except the people around you, you know what I
Right.
mean?
And I mean, and
It's not a rude thing, but,
well, it's the truth.
there is no every single person in the United States who throws the shot put is in my way or coming for my spot, right?
Sure.
So there is this, I mean, it's not like you hate these people or this and that, but it's like that's the reality of the sport, right? There's only so many of us getting a ticket to get to survive in advance. And I hate
Right.
that whole thing, but like that's the truth of it. You punch your ticket, you move on. And like if you don't give the reverence and focus for that happening, I think you're missing the point of the sport, you know?
And I think that for us, and something that I think has been a, like, cornerstone motto for me as a coach is the whole confidence facade, right? Like, I think like, the word confidence is so buzzy, like I've said before. Like, there's real confidence is just the willingness to try something, like, the willingness to say, "I'm gonna go full blast." And you know as well as I know, as well as every single person that's ever thrown or really done anything before, your willingness to go at something at 100% all out is not always the same. Like, you're not always willing to go, like, full throttle. Right? The circumstances can affect your willingness to just be like, I'm going to blast a throw. Right? So for me, it's always been about, okay, confidence in preparedness. The more prepared you are, the more willing you're going to be to take a swing. So as a coach, what can I do to make them feel willing to swing when it matters? Right? And that is a skill as a coach that you need to understand. And for the coaches that are always kind of putting it back on their athlete when the athlete doesn't do well at a championship, for me, it's like if the kid could do it at the Pepsi Cola invite in March, right? They should be able to do it in June at NCAA's in Hayward Field. And if they aren't doing that, there has to be a certain level of accountability that you take on yourself as a coach,
Sure.
right? And so for me, that's something that I think made me a better coach is that I was willing to look at myself with that and realize that it is my responsibility to prepare them for that moment.
No, and you're spot on with that. I was gonna ask you, do your analogy of confidence because I've stolen that from you.
You've already stolen
I've
that. It's
stolen it.
kind of new.
I know. I told the Chinese guys.
You
I
did?
don't know if it translated that
Joe,
well, but
you
I
literally
I
stole that from me already.
I
Did
gave.
you say at
No, I
least?
said Ashley says this.
I just think it's so insane. Like, women, and I don't do the women, "Oh, women this and when I say something that, like, legitimately, like, I read it and I'm quoting somebody, I will say, "Oh, I heard this from so and so. I read this in that book." A man will take what you just say it like they said it and no one's ever said it before. I forgive you because like you can do that. We're married and that's fine.
She has these awesome quotes all the time,
No, I
and
mean
then
you
she'll
have good ones too, but
and
I
no,
say you said
and then
it.
she'll see me say that to somebody and be like, "I came up with
Oh
that."
my goodness. Okay, the confidence thing. So confidence, the willingness to try, right? And that I heard from a podcast. Okay. So that wasn't like my first thing of it, but the willingness to try, I think, is an amazing quote for confidence. So the analogy would be like, say that you are at a racetrack and somebody says to you, "Hey, Joe, you take this car around the track and you stay in your lane at 60 miles an hour. We're going to give you 10 grand." And you're like, "Oh, yeah, totally. I can do that. 60 miles an hour around this track, staying in the lane, no problem. Cool. Come back around. Here's your 10 grand. Joe, stay in your lane and drive this car 85 miles an hour around the track." "I'll give it a go. I think I could probably do that." Come back, get another 10 grand. "All right, listen, we're going to give you 50 grand if you can drive this car around the track at 100 miles an hour, stay in your lane." I hope you're starting to get a little bit like less comfortable saying, "Yes, I could do that." 115 miles an hour, 120, 130, 150 miles an hour, stay in your lane around this track. I hope by that point you're nervous and like that you probably don't feel like you could do that, right? So there's where you're not as confident. Now, if you say that to a race car driver, no problem, no problem, no problem. Like, why are they more quote unquote confident that they can do that? Because they've done it, right? The same way for you. "Oh, Joe, are you confident that you can go in the ring in round 6 in the rain and throw 22 meters?" I mean, you've done it 100 times, so probably so.
Yeah.
Legitimately 100 times.
Mhm.
So, "Oh, you're confident to go in there and do that." It's like, well, you've done it a
Right.
lot of times. But like, and that's the thing, like other guys in the field have thrown 22. There's only one person in the field, and I think maybe in the world that's ever thrown 22 meters more times than you,
Mhm.
right? So, I mean, that's what it's all about. Like, that is confidence,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And I think that like anybody can kind of attest to that. Like, okay, hey, like we'll give you, if you make a foul shot 1 out of 10 tries, like we're going to give you money. If you make this one foul shot right now, right? There's a huge difference there, right? Like way more confident. "Oh, I could hit 1 out of 10, 1 out of 1 games on the line." Like that's a big difference.
Yeah, circumstances change. But like
Everything.
when you say, I like when you say confident and preparedness because it's that's exactly what it is. When you say like, oh, like how are you able to come up with that throw? It's just because, I mean, it's not like you're saying it's a walk in the park, but it's something I've done many times, and I think that's one thing that we always go back to in our training about raising minimums and being able to replicate. And I think when you talk about balance, I think this is probably part of this of the podcast is like maybe to a fault. Like I've viewed my career as a profession this whole time.
Right.
And I probably have lost some of the luster to like throw as far as I can and be excited about it.
Hmm.
Right. Because I'm always guarding myself to make sure I'm in the money.
Right.
And I think that's like I miss sometimes young athletes, right? And it's fun to get with them and they're so excited to throw a PR. And like, not that I wouldn't be excited to throw a PR, but like I am so my mind is so guarded that to do this as a profession that I need to check boxes X, Y, and Z, or if this meet has a distance bonus. You got mad at me. Remember the one time was a 22-meter distance bonus and I threw 22.00. And you're like, well, I know he's done for the day
I just think
because
it's
nothing can get
insane.
better. Nothing can get
But
better.
it's absolutely insane. But, I think a good way to think about this,
Mhm.
think about the mentality an athlete has at regionals,
Oh,
first round.
my favorite
Right.
meet of the year.
Right.
My favorite. It
So, but
was
just think about the marks from that meet.
yeah.
Think about the way that the way you think about three throws versus the way you think about three throws at a meet that it's going to take, like, even for you, say a meet that you know is going to take a throw, 17, 18, 19 meters to make the final
Any
versus a meet
any
that's going to
qualifying round,
take
yep.
22 meters to make the final, 21 high, or you don't really know what's going to happen, but there's 8 guys in the field that have thrown over 22 meters this season. It completely changes the parameters
Yep.
of the first 3 throws, right?
100%.
And so that's where not every meet is the same, right? Like you've said this a million times. The Olympics is not the same as a diamond league, is not the same as some random meet that you would go to as like a practice meet, like at a college meet. They're all different. And the energy
Mm.
of the meet for you and how you come into that meet and how you feel about what you're able to do. Like if you go to a meet where say you go to a college meet, like was we opened up, like you've opened up at a lot of the times at a college meet wherever I was coaching.
Jesse Owens, Vanderbilt,
Exactly.
Music City.
And
Yep.
because it's like, well, clearly we're getting 6 throws. Like half the time it was like we set it up like an invite where you were 100% getting 6 throws. So then it just becomes kind of like a slugfest.
Yep.
You will never, ever, ever, legitimately ever feel like that at an Olympic Games.
No, you should.
Like,
Yeah.
how could you? Right? It's never going to get to that point. And I think that understanding that not every meet is the exact same, and we'll talk about this at some point on the podcast, but the squeeze, it's not the same parameters, right? It is not the same consequences. It is not the same, like, stack up, meaning like who's there matters in terms of like, oh, it doesn't matter. You should do the same thing all the time. It's like, dude, then you've never, ever been good at anything.
Right.
Any coach that's going to say that to somebody, you've never won anything, dude.
Right.
Like, and that's, you know, like the whole Michael Jordan quote, like, because you've never won anything, because you've never won anything. Like, don't ever say that to a kid. Like, oh, it's all the same. Treat it all the same. No, dude.
It's not.
It's not.
You have to acknowledge the externals,
Yeah,
especially
it's
being
ridiculous.
an individual event.
For sure.
It is because it becomes all about externals. The same way you talked about earlier about like the race car driver. I go back to thinking like, you know, I can make a 3-foot putt pretty well any day of the week. A pro golfer, I think it's like a 98 point something statistic. It's like almost they never miss. But when you're the Masters are on the line and it's the 18th hole, it's a 3-foot putt. That 3-foot putt is not the same as the 3-foot putt you did.
Exactly. And like, even like when you see these golfers that like do these insane things, just messing around, or you see like a basketball player that like makes these wild 3-court shots, just like playing and they're loose and it's fun and just for funsies.
Yeah.
Ain't the same when the clock's running out and you need to hit a 3-point shot or you need to hit a foul throw. It's not the same. You know why? From like a physiological perspective, the autonomic nervous system is not doing the same thing, right? And like there's a lot to that, like flow state, all these types of things. But like when you're in like a fight or flight panic mode, and that's the thing, like learning how to calm yourself to not be in that stress, panicky, tight squeeze mode is learned.
Yeah.
That is something that you need to learn to get good at. And you know how another way you get good at it? You get in those situations more often. You've been in those situations a million times now. Like,
well, and that's why when you say I've been in those situations, that's why when we come back to it, like my favorite meet of the year to watch is NCAA regionals, and the East Side's normally Jacksonville. But like I love it. I love it. I love it because first of all, I'm not competing, but I love watching everybody come out with the shot.
I kind of love it too. Every coach is like always cry about, like, I'm like, no, let's go. Like, let's go. I literally would love to, like, statistically, I had a lot of people that were barely in regionals, 30, like Jessica Ramsey.
She got all 3, didn't she?
Yeah, but Jessica Ramsey was 51st in the region in the discus. Had some scratches, gets in the disc. Okay, you're not throwing the discus. Oh, I want to throw it. You ain't throwing it. No, please. It's before the shot. No, please. No, dude. You're not throwing the disc. You can't barely throw the disc. You had a crazy throw to even be 51st on the list. Like, I'm not letting you throw it. Somehow, I don't know what my problem was. I was young. Let her do it. Gets in there. First flight. 51-77. She's like leading the thing until the last round. Ends up getting like, right? But so then USTFC-CCA posted like, biggest upset, day one. Jessica Ramsey, like she was like 98th in the country. Makes NCAAs in the discus, right? But it's like, who shows up? Like, who's ready to game? And like, I always loved that. Like the amount of people that I got into NCAAs that should not have been there.
Yeah.
Because I was like, all right, who's ready to go? Like, it's game on. I don't care. Like, it was fun.
Personally, I love when people freak out about it's only 3 throws. Ever beats only 3 throws, right? You hear all these things happen. You see this. I love it because I love standing over at the shot. Obviously, there's 4 flights with the shot. There's 3 with the long throws. But like you see that number 1 and 2 come out in the shot, the same as like number 1 in the discus, like Jessica probably did for you, and like everybody's so glad to be there, right? You're here. So you see this like nice, easy flow.
Exactly.
You see people kind of smiling. Maybe their parents
enjoying it,
and they're enjoying it. And all of a sudden, all that tension of the season just relaxes, and you just start seeing somebody hit these huge PRs
because they have nothing to lose.
They have nothing to lose.
They shouldn't even be there. They know they're not going to make it. And then you see the 3rd and 4th flight, and they come out, and it's just like oh my gosh,
deer in the headlights, stiff. coming out, kind of all kind of Frankenstein walking, and everybody's trying to do their
No,
thing.
but you like
People are either like talking too much to each other or they're doing way too many dry drills in the corner. It's like, dude, it's not the
no,
fall.
but it's the
You know,
best because, like, when
but
I had all those kids, like, when I had all those girls at Ohio State that were, like, all of them wanted to win the NCAAs, like, all of them, and I'm like, "If you guys walk into regionals like you're scared to be there, like, get out of my face."
yeah,
Because if you're scared of regionals, ain't no way you're a national champion.
sure,
Ain't no way you're making All-American.
yeah,
Like, you're just not. So if this is scary for you, then, like, you don't then, like, stop talking about, "I wanna win NCAAs." If you're scared to be top 12 in half the country, you actually think you're gonna walk in to everybody in the country and win the thing? Like, please, bye. Like,
yeah.
that is not the mentality. Like, if you don't think you have a handle on that, you're not winning NCAAs,
No,
right?
you're 100% right, and that's how you coach somebody, which obviously that's how you've had so much success doing it, but, like, as a spectator, as somebody who's still an athlete, right, and I get to be in those moments, I love when I'm not competing
You
because
really did. You never miss I swear you, like,
no,
never missed a
I talk
regionals.
about this all the time, and you're gonna be like, Okay, move on," but, like, you can every time I see an athlete walk out there, I can reflect back moments in my own personal career of how I felt, how
I
they
mean,
felt.
I ruined my life at regionals, like, every time.
Well, not me saying, like, at regionals,
I mean, as an athlete, I couldn't get nothing going, like, every time I
But
found
okay,
a way
but
to
I'm
mess
not
that
even
up.
talking about actually at regionals. I'm saying when I see somebody walk out with expectations for the first time, I can reflect back to myself when I had expectations, even recently, right?
Right,
And when I
sure.
see somebody come out and they're just happy to be there and slinging, it's just like, man, that kind of like, I can't wait to maybe open up this next year at Ashland again, right? Like, even though I didn't throw that far there, it's like I enjoyed the meet. I could, there's so many times I go to a meet and like you said, they're not the same. They're not like
Right,
there's meets I go to you can enjoy, and there's meets you go to that you all you care about is like the performance, and there's nobody there giving you high five afterwards,
sure.
right? So it's so fun for me to watch that meet. If I ever have to go watch a collegiate track meet and you just say you have to pick one, I would never pick nationals. I would pick regionals every single time because of that. Because even the other events, it's fun to watch who's fighting to get 12th place in the race.
You just like watching people squirm and the way that it feels
Well,
for
it may be because that's a trigger for me because, like, that's one thing, the squeeze is something
right.
that is a thing for me. So when I see other people going through it and overcoming it, it's
No, it's
fun.
great. I mean, there are so many
That's the
fun
exciting
moments,
part of
right?
sport for me. It's just
Yeah, I
like
mean, there are so many
not who
fun
just won the meet because they were supposed to win the meet. I love
exactly.
watching the person come out and throw a big PR and
Yeah,
reap the benefits of going to Eugene or whoever
no doubt.
nationals is.
Well, I mean, I think that this whole thing was supposed to be about balance. I think we definitely, in our fashion, got sidetracked and went on to a few tangents, but I still think it was relatively relatively good conversation.
Yeah.
I think we hopefully we brought some meaningful insight to some of the topics that we discussed tonight.
Well, I think it's good too. I mean, for everybody who's listening, we appreciate you guys are listening with the comments, the subscription. We're trying to get that higher. It helps us on YouTube get more analytics and all that kind of stuff. But if you guys like, we want to present to you guys, maybe more organized than we did tonight, but have a topic, but feel free to like tell you our experiences because I think it's a unique circumstance from Ashley being a collegiate coach in the Division 1 for over 12 years and being successful from multiplied national champions to, you know, bringing people to the Olympics and different events. And then myself with my professional career, and we do this together. So I think, it's fun for us to reflect back on our experiences, the people who've helped us along the way, but also kind of tell you guys, maybe you guys might be going through a similar thing. And like,
Yeah,
you
I
might
mean,
hear,
I think it's one of those things like that I'm kind of like revisiting now that I'm working with high school athletes again, which has been so awesome for me is like it's really all the same. It's just a higher level.
yeah,
Right? The mistakes that you make and I think that people have been really excited to see like the one thing that I posted on THROvacs where you like had a bad like you stepped on the board or something. It's like, "Oh, like Joe makes mistakes too." It's like, yeah, like everybody does, and I think that for us to show more of like the reality of what this is actually like is going to be insightful and hopefully like fun for everybody to kind of like get a closer look at like the reality of life that we're living, and
well, and I think that's one thing too. I'm excited with this podcast. They show the current life we're going through, the struggles, the ups and downs, but we have some good stories from the past. And you say like, dumb things in the weight room. I've never really gotten hurt doing the lift as much as like I dropped a plate on my toe the day before an opener, and
I love how, like, you
like
think that these things are, like, far enough away that it's, like, not gonna be triggering to me, but, like, I just, like, started sweating a little bit when you even mentioned
there
that.
was a lot of blood, but hey, we threw pretty well in the opener 2 days later. So, but we have some good stories like that. We're excited to share. We're gonna put more out there. So if you guys, can please comment. Hopefully good things. If not, don't comment. But put in some things that you want to hear topic wise. We kind of have some structure thing we gotta want to present you guys in the future. We're excited. We have a training trip coming up, so that's when I can kind of really bunker down and focus on my personal training as well as kind of getting Ashley and I in tune for the season. Because once I have a meet, there's no looking back. Like you
Right,
can't flip the switch on, and all the stuff we've been doing, coaching and helping some others. I gotta, go back and try to do what I do best and get another medal when it counts.
right.
But we're excited to bring more to you guys. So I thank you guys for watching. All these stories we're trying to tell you guys. It's always about trying to go through hard times, get better, and find a way through them. So thank you from Ashley and I. Thank you for watching the Kovacs podcast. This is where the Kovacs family and our throwing passion collide.
Good job, Joe.